Right. So and again, well, good evening again for those who are here. We have sort of made a brief intro there, but on the agenda today is the NEBOSH project, and just kind of getting, like I said, the voice back into the teaching mode anyway, after not really teaching whole day anyway. I mean, it's normal conversation, which is a bit different to the sort of depth that you put on for the teacher's voice anyway, right? So um we can start here, and I would want you all to start making some notes as we go along. The first thing I want to add here or say here is that this document that you're looking at, right? So I did email it to you all. Because we had it on Tuesday last week. I saw it. I may have emailed it to you Wednesday or Thursday, most likely the Wednesday, right? And so this one that you're looking at, right? Now a lot of people ignore this one and they go for the other one, which is the sample, but this one is the main one, right? So um, if somebody would follow this, like if you all follow this, you don't really need a teacher if you follow this, right? It says guidance and information for learners and learning partners, right? So this is a guidance for doing your risk assessment, right? So when you look at it, we're going to scroll along and make reference to this one and the other one today, right? You would see this document tells you exactly what you need to do for your project, right? So they have here, you're going to have to put the name of the organization, the site location, how many workers are employed by the organization, a general description of the organization, which must include information on products manufactured and or services provided, the types of activities undertaken, and shift patterns worked. Number 5, a description of the area to be included in the risk assessment and any other relevant information. And the project has 4 parts. This is part 1 if you look up here. So the point of this, again, I'll say it one more time, is that a lot of students ignore this document. And this is the main document. This is like the guidance, right? So why would you ignore the main document? I'm not too sure why. But those who follow this, we could normally tell, because when you look at the draft doesn't really need much help if you follow the guidance, right? So when we look at your draft, the most that we do is say, like, so we will say to you, like, you did not follow the guidance, right? So this is that document. You can easily tell it from the fact that it have the forklift on it, the forklift pit here, and also it does say guidance and information for learners anyway, right? So as we go into the other document, we're gonna look at the I think I'm still in the part of the EC, right? I think we could look at this one here. This is the one that you all may have seen last week. Just confirm with me if you all can see this one. This is gonna be somewhat of a orange border is what you're gonna make out here. I think I saw this in the video from last week. Um, and you would have gotten a blank as well, right? So what you need to do when you get some time, you can actually start filling this out. If by chance you have scrap paper with you today, you could actually fill this out now. Or if you haven't, you could actually fill it out now. However, if you're sending your draft, you would need to type it up and then send it across to us anyway, right? So what I was saying is that what you saw here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is what you're seeing here. But how do we know then to tell you what to put here? It's not because we really know, it's because the guidance said so, right? So very important is that you follow the guidance on this document. Just confirm with me if you all can see part 1, it has here background. Yeah, okay, good, right. So let's go. Now I know you saw a piece of this last week. Again, I like I said, I had a little view of the video, right? And so you may have had an idea of this already. So I'm gonna
Okay.
assume I'm not going to make all the assumptions from last week. I'm gonna assume that you all know that already. And we're just gonna hit the ground running, right? So here we have name of organization. And those who did the
Excuse,
T-Bosh program, yeah, sorry.
where in the book is this? Is it in the book? Not
That's
the
in the
example.
second textbook. Yeah, you can find it in the second textbook. but the print is very fine, right? It's not like it's not really in the second textbook. Like what the second textbook did, like when they finish a chapter, they try to link it to the project. They try to link, like if they were talking about fire, they try to link fire as a hazard to the project, right? But it in no way really is all of these sheets in the book. These sheets are really from NEBOSH itself, which I believe I emailed to you all, right? So it's not as if, the book, I've always said to you all, the book is supplementary. These documents on the NEBOSH website, you can get them by going to NEBOSH Home, click in your subject and look under the resources, or you could, I believe I had emailed it to you all, like I said, last week anyway, right? But if you find it in a book, you'll see what I'm talking about. The print is very, very fine. It's not much use as NEBOSH themselves would have sent you a sample, which is what you're looking at here, right? All right, so name of organization. So we have National General Garages Limited, also known as NGG Limited. So what you can do there, I would advise you today not to waste time. And if you have some file pages around, just to start this one time. Or if you have it, just start to type in the blank one time, right? So National General Garages Limited. So if you could put a name of a company there, any company name will do. There's no special requirement there. The company can be real or the company can be imagined, right? So I'm going to ask one of you or one or two of you to tell me what company name did you put, and we'll just move on.
Question.
No, okay, a question, but first answer my question, right? So which is, can two of you say what company name that you all put there? And then
Oh,
and
but
then
that's
I'll take a
for
question.
this. I need the question answer before we continue. For this NEBOSH risk assessment, they gotta be in the oil and fuel sector. It could be anything. It could be any
All right.
place of work.
Okay, so it could be anything. It could be any company. So
Can
this is what
it
I was
be a
saying. So from Tuesday night, I would have assumed that we covered this already, which was that the company chosen can be any company. It can be real or imagined, right? So could two of you tell me what company name that, like what did you all put there instead of National General Garage Limited? What company did you put?
Sir, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we could, yeah.
Yes, I chose eco cleaning and general services.
Could you say it
A
again?
cleaning company. Eco cleaning and general services.
Oh, very good. Okay, thanks very much, Shondell. One more person. Any name will do. So this not supposed to be a sticking point. One more
Sir,
person,
I haven't started, but I intend to use the organization I work with, which is the
which is
Hydrometeorological Service.
right. Okay,
The
and you just put that right
Hydrometeorological
in.
Service.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, let's go site location. So they have Leicestershire, UK. Leicester is the home of NEBOSH and IOSH. And so for you, you would just put somewhere, you can put, friendship, Guyana, South America. You can put Monrepo, Georgetown, Guyana, South America. You can put Berbice, well, a part of Berbice if, that's part of it anyway, right? So St. Mary's, Berbice, but not George, I'm sorry, that'll be Berbice, right? South America, Guyana, South America, right? So nothing difficult there. See if you can fill that out. Like I said, like there's no need to waste. If you all have a pen and a paper today, you could write this out one time. And if you have it, take your type on it one time, right? Somebody could tell me what they put there for their so and it doesn't have to be real, it could be real or imagined. So could you say what did you all put there?
Georgetown, Guyana.
Like a particular place though, Georgetown. You put Georgetown, Guyana, South America. That should work. And they can be more precise, I guess, if you know like what I mean? But Leicestershire is like the state, so then Georgetown would be good enough. Georgetown, Guyana, South America. Okay, good. So next one, number of workers. You can put a number of workers there. It could be like numbers like what you see in here, 24, 25, 15, 50, 100, 200, 1,000. Doesn't really matter, but it may make a little influence when you start to write here. When you say NGG is a medium-sized company, say if you give like 100 or 200 workers, if you say 250 workers, you would want to say then that like the meteorological, department or office or company is a large company. If you say 250 workers, if you say like 25, 20, you can say, NGG is a medium size, garage, whatever have you. So think about it. Don't put too much thought in it because it's nothing that can give you it wrong then, right? It's nothing here that you can get wrong. It's just a
Sure.
number. Yeah.
So this is the number of workers in the entire company or a specific department or?
It should be the number of workers in the entire company.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Of course, if you have different branches, you just stick to one branch. If it's like Massey or something, just kind of keep it down like to maybe one branch of Massey, 250 workers or whatever have you, right? But it's nothing to get wrong then. Like, you wouldn't really fail for putting a number of workers there anyway, unless if you put one, because the idea here is that the company mustn't have one person in it, even if it was like a restaurant, a puri shop. You should have about maybe 5 workers, maybe a chef, a handler, somebody serving, a cashier. So you may end up with 5 workers and stuff, and then you say, okay, like SNS Puri Shop is a small, restaurant that caters for members of the public, different delicacies, dishes, as well as special occasions such as weddings, parties, anniversaries, etc. Right? I mean, it's very simple when you look at this one. It's not hard to do anyway, right? Anybody want to show the number of workers they have again? Like what
So,
number of workers are you thinking about?
so about 2,000 fine if
2,000
the
may be
company
too much. Which company is that though?
banks the edge.
Hmm. Okay. Supposed to do some work for you all too. Well, in that case, you'll have this, like in the general description, they say in the banks, is a large, you know, company, then that's what you say, right? I mean, so that's the only influences that have based on the number of workers you put, you'll have to go, small organization or large organization, or in this case here, medium size. But nothing is wrong with the 2,000. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. All right, moving on, general description of the organization. Like I said, I'm hoping that you all have a pen and paper around. I think I may have mentioned some things here last week, but I guess for simplicity's sake, I'll write it over again. Let me just try to find the marker. Haven't moved the faces here. I think it's in the Zoom screen now, right? Because our faces are to the top here, right? It's blocking the chat, right? So if you have anything to say, you could, all right, somebody actually had Demerara Distillers Limited, right? But the Zoom, because our faces are up here, then, right? I couldn't see it, and I'm putting our faces back up there. So if you have anything to say, just unmute your mic if you could, and let us know, right? So what you'll find in the general description is about 5 things. So I could put it in bullet point here for you, right? So what you'll find inside here is the size of the company. But I think you probably saw that already. The size of the company. It's about 5 things they look for here. You can write them down. Size. I'll try to fit maybe 3 on top, 2 below, something like that, right? So the size, the next thing you want to see is the function, or the next thing you want to say is the function of the company. Like, what does it do? What does it make? Is it a service company? Is it a fabrication company? What does the company do, right? Is it a restaurant? Is it a beer company? Is it a power company? What does it do, right? So the function of the company, size and function. Next thing you want to list is the activities, and you would have to zone down. I'll talk about this just so you have to zone down into the activities of like three main areas. Yeah, activities is kind of harder to spell with the marker, right? So yeah, so the activities, so even if you have about 2,000 persons, you're gonna have to kind of zone this project down to like an area that consists of three sub areas then, right? Let me just finish this off, right? So activities, you're gonna have to mention the three areas, right? Three areas. So possibly where you are located, there's an office there. Maybe there's a warehouse, maybe there's a storage area, maybe there is like that's where the conveyors and them are at, so the workshop floor. So you're gonna have to, even though you say NGG Limited, but you have to zone out to three areas. Even if you say, like banks, or you say, Exxon, or you say Gisby, you have to kind of bring it down. It's not a whole plant. It's only 10 hazards we after anyway. So you break it down to three main areas. This is AREAS. Not too sure where the marker has disappeared to. It's here. And the last thing here, you want to include the time of working, and you must include a shift system. Now, all of this is actually on the guidance. So it's not as if I made this up, right? And so if you ever lost and maybe you didn't write it down and you're not looking back at the video, or the video is not posted up tonight because of what happens with the recording. Remember, YouTube is harder to kind of post to. Even so, Google Classroom itself does have to vet the videos on them, right? So they're never available tonight. But like I said, there are other videos of the same class, this, same teacher in every way is actually on the YouTube channel already, right? So if you're looking for them, you can get them here. Let me just go back and show you it on the guidance here. I just need to change the marker back. So when in doubt, check the guidance or check your notes. Check the notes that you made, right? But when in doubt, do check the guidance. If you come here, you'll see it. Oh, sorry, I went too fast. The guidance that I've said here. So what you want is a general description of the organization. This is number 4, which must include information on products manufactured and or services provided, the types of activities undertaken, and shift patterns work, right? So they left out some, but like I said, function is, like the products manufactured, size and time and stuff will be taken to be the shift patterns worked, right? So normally you do follow this. In this case, like I said, I may have interpreted 1 or 2 for you here in terms of function and activities. But it's all, part of the exam process anyway, right? So if you read this one, you'll see here NGG Limited is a medium size garage. So then you start up the same way. You say, that whatever, Bakewell is, medium size baking facility. You bring it down to 3 areas with offices, vehicle repair shops, and paint spray booths or boot, right? So that's 3 areas. And so if you're using, like I guess a bigger company, you can still say it has an office, it has a production area, and perhaps it has a loading and offloading bay, something like that, something that you would know now, right? If it's a restaurant, I would say it had a kitchen, may have where the cashier is at, and you may have where the patrons could come in and sit and have a meal or probably take out ready-made meals anyway, but it's still 3 areas there, right? Next thing we'll see is function. The business, thinking about taking off that AC, and the business does a lot of repairs and maintenance on commercial vehicles and body repairs on vehicles, mainly cars and vans that have been involved in accidents for insurance companies. Trying to find my marker, right? Let's look at here. Servicing and MOTs are also carried out for members of the public. MOTs are maintenance, right? So that's function. The business does a lot of repairs and maintenance on commercial vehicles and body repairs on vehicles, mainly cars and vans, that have been involved in accidents for insurance companies. Servicing and MOTs are also carried out for members of the public. So just in like 2 lines, you write in the function of your business, right? So you write it. I would stick to the restaurant because I really don't know your company. I could talk about a school. I can say, the new guy in a school or Shadrach Safety Institute is a small, tertiary level institute operated in Trinidad and Tobago that is accredited to offer the NEBOSH fleet of courses. The school consists of the office, the classrooms, and we can say probably the lunch area or something. It have other areas here, but it's just 3 with 1 then, right? So we can say the institute provides educational training for members of the public, for students, for workers along the lines of health and safety. We also do consultancy for companies, and what again we do? We do training for, I guess, government entities, right? Something like that. So you just kind of write like a 2 line on it to make it work. I sure you all can do it because it's your company that you are writing about. Look, I mean, I don't, a restaurant would be kind of easy for me to do. So I can say Bakewell. So the business, um, you know, uh, produces various breads and pastries for the public and for walk-in customers, I guess is almost the same. Oh, I guess on special occasions, right? What again could we say about Bakewell, right? They serve uh like restaurant style dishes on the spot, right? I already don't know. I've visited them a couple of times, but I've seen them all in Burbies. I've seen Bakewell vans, heading all to Burbies and Linden and stuff, right? So they supply, I guess, various grocery supermarkets. I'm going to say grocery, but you also say supermarkets. But so they supply various supermarkets and I'm not too sure, right? Of so with their products and like with their bread and pastries, right? So you would know your business. That's how I do not know that too much, but you know your business, so you could write 2 lines on what your business does, right? Next thing I want to say, now the other thing I wanted to do, I wanted to change up some of these. Like you take the pattern of the sample, but you cannot take the sample. I know I spoke about that on Tuesday. You take the pattern of the sample, but you cannot take the sample, right? So, like when you read typical activities, you could find a way to say that. You could say, and I could use the school, right? I'd use it. So I would say things, like general work done at Shadrach Safety involves the dissemination of, health and safety courses via Zoom or face-to-face training, right? Um, what you see here though, right? Like what you see in the sample, they have a broken down version of it, meaning they put a comma after each one. So the dissemination of knowledge through Zoom, comma, face-to-face training for clients, comma, consultancy, for safety management systems, comma, um, well, something we call store TT gap analysis. That's like an area. So we have here, comma. So they have that approach then, right? So like if you're using Bakewell, or just to use Bakewell as an example, you can say typical activities undertaken include, but you don't want to say typical activities. You want to say, like on an average day, work includes loading and offloading raw materials from suppliers to the pantry, comma, removal of flour and ingredients from the pantry to the baking area or the preparation area, right? Comma, prepping of items into the desired shapes and I guess flavors, comma, baking of items in the ovens, comma, removal of items from the baking units and place on display for customers, comma, selling of bread and pastries and dishes to members of the public, comma, and you end off with that. So if you see what they did here, so did you all see they took that nitty-gritty approach then by putting the comma between them, right? You see here, typical activities undertaken include moving spare parts from the stores to the workshop, comma, engine repairs, comma, activities related to servicing and maintenance, comma, body repair, comma, draining fuel oil, comma, spray boot activities, including the use of paints that are solvent-based, full stop. See if you see that, because that's what you'll have to do. You'll have to break it down for the UK examiners, how I did the school and how I did bakery. Well, Bakewell. Bakery. or the bakery. What you all think? Can you all get that into your company? Can you all do that for your 3 areas? Because you have to. And like I said, you may have to find another way of saying typical activities, right? So you can say general work done on a typical day, on an average day. The work that is involved includes. So look, I'll give you 2 other alternatives there, right? I wouldn't say it again because I said it twice already. Just tell me what you think if you understand the content that you're seeing here, the general description of the organization. And what I would advise you all to do is to type this week. I know we have class tomorrow night too, right? But that because we see you all twice in a week. But if you're gonna type it this week and hand it up, right? Part 1 and part 2. We may get into part 2 tonight, but definitely tomorrow will be on part 2, right? Tell me what you think, folks. I just waiting for you all to give me an answer just to move on.
Question. Given that some of us are from the same organization, is it a problem if 2 persons choose to use the same organization?
I would probably tell it to change it or just make up a
Okay.
company. Remember, we said it didn't have to be real, it could be real or imagined,
It's just
right?
easier to work with what you know.
Right. Well, what I know, right, is that your project is fed into plagiarism software. So that's why I'm telling you all, like, don't use words like typical activities undertaken because once you have 3 words in the same line, they'll pick it up. The plagiarism software picks that up as plagiarism. So if somebody have, let's say somebody have, well, just the one I know, the one I have in front of me here, right? Guyana, Showbase, right? And then somebody have the same thing, Guyana, Showbase. We could change it up a bit. You could just say port, port shore facility. You could just make up something. The name is not that important. You could even use your name, right? Walker Company Limited, right? You could just say NB. That's Nikita there, right? NB, NBCL, right? NBCL. You just put a name for it, right? National Border Company Limited. It really doesn't matter. But because the project is fed into plagiarism software, if 2 persons have the same thing there, it'll pick up as plagiarism. Because that's what the plagiarism software does. In reality, it didn't plagiarize, but the plagiarism software doesn't know that. It picks up the words that are similar in your project to somebody else's project. Folks, you think you understand that?
Yes, thank you.
So feel free to change it, right? Like I say, NGG Limited is not a real company. National General Garage is not a real company. You can just make something up, right? Um, Guyana Fabrication or Guyana Bacon Company Limited. So that's in Bakewell, right? If it is like that kind of company, right? So GBC or Guyana Bacon Company Limited. Nobody really know. Who knows, right? Nobody really know. And the thing you do is that if somebody was using Bakewell and somebody did put Guyana Bacon Company Limited, but then the plagiarism software does know it's the same thing that you were talking about, but it is the same thing. So feel free to change it up a bit, right? Now, I did mention to you all, we do look at your draft, so I will try to look at that, right? What you have to know is that this is serious business, right? When I say serious business, remember we all talk about NEBOSH being a life changer, which it is. It changed so much of people's life that you probably know and I know, and for me myself, I have to have 3 degrees, and the only one that kind of make a difference is in NEBOSH anyway, right? But and that's a long story that I don't have time to go into, but um what I'm trying to say is that NEBOSH is that this is not a T-BOSH program. This is going back to England. This is the real NEBOSH. And yes, once you get it for life. You could work anywhere. We all have heard the stories I told you about another student of mine that went into England and stuff, right? He got in NEBOSH, he got into Gisby, from Gisby, he went across to the UK, right? Getting from what he told me, 100 and I don't know much million dollars at that fall. Yeah, I have to check it and see. He told me he was getting more than 100,000 TT dollars a month. The calculator not coming on, all right? I wish I was him, to be honest. I would have quit my job. Uh, looks like about 3 million, is it? I probably had it wrong. Yeah, it's about 3 million Guyanese dollars a month, I think, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, right? Yeah, and so folks, so what I was saying, I was making a point that we know that, right? We know NEBOSH could change your life because I know that, and some of y'all know that. Um, Again, I didn't plug on this computer, right? But what I'm saying is that we all know NEBOSH is good, the real one. And this is the real one. This is not the watered down one. This is not the ILO one. This is not the new guy in our school one. This is the real one, right? But because of that, too, they have a good plagiarism software thing now, right? And what I'd advise you to do, just work by yourself and for yourself because they do catch students, right? The last guy in our class, about 3 students got caught. Right now, we don't do that investigation. That's some NEBOSH up. All I get is a letter saying, look, number 0056271, have been caught in plagiarism. Right? They give you a chance to defend yourself, but I've never seen a good defense. I've never seen anybody defended themselves in a way that NEBOSH spared them. Like when NEBOSH send that letter, they catch you good. Like they know what they're doing. Right? We don't see what they're doing, by the way. I don't see anything. They just inform us that the student has been caught in plagiarism. And there have been many reasons why. One of them, I'll just share this briefly, right? Because I was saying this is serious business now. But to get away from that, just do your own work. That's as simple as just do your own work. And the other thing I've realized, don't use any writing tool. You all know what I mean by writing tool? There's something called an AI writing tool. It pops up. It pops up on my computer sometimes. Like if I may be writing something and you know what I mean? But my thing is not the exam, right? So like an AI prompt will come up to maybe change the sentence. Don't use that. Let your sentence be the way it is. Forget if it's not. NEBOSH not really marking sentence construction. They marking to see if you have the answer and you have the line. And in terms of this project, they marking to see if you have what I have on the left-hand side here, right? Did you have the sides? Did you have the 3 areas? Did you have the function? Didn't matter if the sentence didn't all flow perfectly as our AI tool would write it. That's not important. What is important is what you have here on the left-hand side, right? So, and it could tell stories wholly, but just to get away from that, just stay away from any AI writing tool. Write your work for yourself. Don't work with anybody. At the end of the day, you pass your thing. When you pass your thing, or look at me for Christmas. I may be there for Christmas in Guyana. And, you celebrate then, right? But now when you're in it, because NEBOSH is a world-class body, we all know that. You have to understand that they have world-class software as well, right? And just to get away from that, like when I wrote for them, I was never in doubt about anything. I know I do my work. I was never, in fact, back in my day, never really had AI writing tool, come to think of it. But the point was that nobody could ever tell me I plagiarized because I could tell you I write the thing for myself. And when I would have put my thing through a plagiarism software, because you could download Turnitin. Turnitin is a plagiarism software. Turnitin would never even get 1% on me. They would not even get 1% plagiarized on me, not even one. They say get point something, which was ridiculous. So, you all do your work for yourself. Stay away from common lines, like typical activities included. Stay away from those things and you will be safe for the project as well as for the exam. Do not work in groups. Do not, I mean, if you're smart enough, you could work in group, but that is dependent on the first part of that statement that I make. If you're smart enough. Okay, have people just tell you they're working in group and you tell them, don't put this answer that I put in and they put the same thing. They say, you put this 5 and I put this 5 and they put the same 5 that you put. Right? I tell you, I see them. I've been in Guyana. I've seen 2 of those persons that was caught in plagiarism. The last 2 times I was there. I think I shared one with you already. The other one was with another company. I wouldn't call the company name. Right? But the lady still had passed NEBOSH because she got a ban. right? They ban her. You have different consequences of plagiarism. Sometimes you have to do over the project, do over the exam, but sometimes they ban you, and that person was on a ban. Tell me what you think. And while you're thinking about what I said, let me just grab my computer cord and plug it in a bit, right? Y'all got scared? It is actually simpler than you think, as I said. Passing the project is simpler than you think. It's not as hard. Passing the exam is simpler than you think. There's no need for any grand sort of output then, right? Or group work then. It really is simpler than you think, right? Folks, any comments on what I said? Yeah, I just had to mention that because it happens in every sitting. I would hate to see it happen in this sitting, right? It's been since
Happens in
20.
every city.
Yeah, it happens in every sit-in. Sorry to say that. It happened in every sit-in so far. It happened in the last Guyana sit-in. It happened in one of my Trinidad. One person in one of the Trinidad sit-in. Somebody just always copy something, you see. Somebody always wants to take the shortcut and copy some line from this or copy something from the internet. And that's what I'm telling you. I mean, just do the thing for yourself. In terms of the exam, remember all you have to say is, in my opinion, a negative or a positive, which was your homework, a positive safety indicator is management communication with workers. And then you said this is seen in the case study where the supervisor communicated with the new apprentice. Now, folks, how hard is that? That cannot be hard to say. Why do you need somebody help? Why do you need help to put a line like that together? This is not maths we're doing. We're not doing trigonometry. We're not doing some sort of excessive English literature here. It's just 2 pages on a case study, right? So don't try to take the easy way out because a lot of people pass, right? I mean, and they just do their own work. So why not just do your own thing and pass, right? As we on that, I remember had a guy and he's student, a really good friend of mine. And no, I didn't know, but this man used a AI writing tool. At the end of the day, when they caught him, he was very upset. He called, he cursed. I just let him have a good day. He said, Shadrach, you can't teach. You cannot teach. I said, fine, you know. I said, have a good day, have a good day. I wish you the best, you know. But the thing is, he definitely used an AI writing tool, you know, and they caught him on it. You know, I was so upset though because he was a good friend of mine over the semester that we had then, right? I wish that, he would and the thing is he gave up a lot for safety, but then NEBOSH cut him down because of what he did. So I don't know where he is now. I don't know if he what he doing now because I know he was so passionate about his safety thing though. But passing the exam, you don't need this big sort of help that what people think you need software and thing. You just need yourself, right? All right, the next line here, right? The next thing we're supposed to say is time. The garage operates from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays and is closed on the weekend or at the weekends. Workers are only required to work 7 hours per day, so they are staggered start and finish time in place. Forget that. Just do it your way. Just because what you really want is the time and the shift. Some students just go back and copy that line, and we ask them, so why did you copy the line? They are staggered start and finish times in place. They say, so what we see it on the sample. But I never tell you follow the sample by copying the sample, right? If you like we tell you, put the time and the shift, right? So you say then, Bakewell Bakery, if that's what they call it. So Bakewell Limited or whatever, right? Operates from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. On a Saturday they are open. There's a shift system. Or so you say there's a shift system on a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Simple, And nothing hard in that, right? If you're using Gisby, you say Gisby or whatever, one of those bigger companies, they say the company operates from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. There is a night shift that starts from 6 p.m. to maybe 6 a.m. in the morning. How hard is that? Why you had to go and copy the line they staggered and start time? You know it have no staggered and start time for your company. Staggered mean you know what you're doing. Staggered mean they didn't know what they're doing. They're just working when they feel to work. But your company must have a more defined time limit than that, right? Okay, folks, next one. Just tell me if you have any questions. We're going a little too slow, so I'll kind of speed up a bit, right? Tell me if you're okay with, okay, I want to take off what's on the left-hand side. I may have to write. In fact, I do have to write. I don't want to write anything else for these two until I finish these two, right? So if you have any questions, please jump in and say it. And you could write this now, right? Like I said, just be real to your company, right? The thing about a sample, it don't mean follow it word for word. It's just a sample, right? Next thing, right? Description of the area to be included in the risk assessment. So the explanation I'll give you here for those of us who are writing is that this is not really a description. This is more like a list. Description of the areas to be included in the risk assessment is not really a description, right? It's just like you stating where your risk assessment will cover. So this one says the risk assessment will cover the garage and spray boot activities. The office area has a separate risk assessment, right? I would advise you all do not do that. Do not leave out an area. Put all three areas. So you could say the risk assessment will cover, I'm using Bakewell, right? The risk assessment will cover the loading and offloading bay, comma, the kitchen area, comma, and the serving and dining area. Don't leave out anything. If you want to know why I'm telling you don't leave out anything, well, it's 10 hazards you have to get, right? But if you say the office have a separate risk assessment, then you wouldn't be able to get any hazards in the office. In other words, then you are limiting yourself to the garage and the spray boot activities. Right? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Back to the guidance, right? I'm going to flip this page a bit. So back to the guidance here. There is actually a list of hazards to choose from. Look at here. And this is from your guidance itself. I'll try to bring it up a bit bigger if anybody's on their phones, right? So there's a list of hazards to choose from, right? But if you say something like the office of a separate risk assessment, then if there's any unique office hazards here, well, then you can't put it because you said the office had a separate risk assessment. So things like violence at work, mental health could probably be more at the office, right? But if it's in the office of a separate risk assessment, well, then you exclude these from your 10, and you shouldn't because you want to get 10, right? So coming back here, so you should say, as I said, the risk assessment will cover, going to Shadrach Safety, will cover the Office of Shadrach Safety Institute, the 4 main classrooms, and the cafeteria. Don't leave out anything. Because the hazards in the classroom may be trailing cables or whatever have you, but the hazards in the cafe may be different, and the hazards in the office will be different. And you want to get 10 different hazards. So who said that? Who said 10 different 10 different hazards? The guidance did. If you read this with me, that we haven't reached it yet, and this is the table. But read this with me, right? You must find and record at least what? At least what? 10 same hazards? 10 what hazards?
10 different hazards.
10 different hazards, right? So then why would you limit yourself to saying, so not everything the sample say you had to do. The point is here, you want to get 10. You want to spread that 10. So imagine somebody, I guess, at the factory, right? So if you say the office, but then you say the production areas, and the production areas, you can get some good hazards there. If there's ever such a thing as a good hazard. But the point is you can get hazards there, then like manual handling, right? You can get hazards there like loading and offloading containers, but you mightn't get that in the office. So then why would you exclude an area? You shouldn't. So put your 3 areas one time, right? Next one. Hopefully you all made a note of that because I went on to explain it. I also went on to show you what they're looking for. Right? Nothing is wrong with excluding an area, you know, but I think if you have 3 areas, you get a broader range of 10 because they say 10 different, right? So 10 different hazards, right? All right. Last one here, any other relevant information? Now, this one having it, if you go back to the guidance, but I wouldn't because I'll just tell you, right? Because of time. So any other relevant information, what they wanted to put here is who have the direct responsibility for health and safety. I can go back to the guidance and you'll see it in it, but I wanted to say it first. If we come back to the guidance here, and you read number 6, any other relevant information, they said, who has the day-to-day responsibility for health and safety? So when you come back here, any other relevant information, it's supposed to be who have the direct responsibility for health and safety. So they have here, the finance director, who reports directly to the managing director, has direct responsibility for health and safety. So folks, you just put who it is for you, right? If you say it's the owner or the head supervisor at Bakewell has direct responsibilities for health and safety and she reports to the owner of the company. Let's make it real for you. You know what the mistake is? The mistake is some students will go and put the finance director who reports directly to the managing director has direct responsibility for health and safety. But you are talking about a bakery or a puri shop. So do you really have a finance director? By the way, other than having a finance director, which you could have for a puri shop, the fact is that it's plagiarism. The finance, once you put back that line, they catch you one time. The finance director reports directly to the managing director. But like I said, hopefully you will send us your draft because we have to upload it for you and we will see it. But there's no need for us to see it if you just know the right thing to do, right? So you put who it is. If it's Mr. Frank Ramkisoon, the owner of S&J Machine Shop, has direct responsibility for health and safety, then that's what you put there. You put who it is for you. Folks, you understand that? If it's the health and safety manager, you say the health and safety manager who reports to the CEO has direct responsibility for health and safety. If it's the QHSSE manager, you say that the quality, health, safety, security, and environmental manager, Miss Jane Henry, has direct responsibility for health and safety. Just say who it is for you. How hard could that be? Tell me what you think. This part 1 is finished. Let's have a look at it. How easy it was. Put the name of a company, any name will do. Put a location, any location will do. Put a number of workers, any number will do, but then that may influence you saying small, medium, or large. Here we have the size of the company, the function of the company, the activities separated by various commas, 3 areas, the time, and a shift system. You don't have to put the shift that they have here. In fact, they really don't have a shift here. So this is not advised that you take the same pattern in addition to the whole thing about plagiarism. So don't do it like that. Just do it how it fits into your company or your make-believe company. Right? The general description of the area is not really a description, but it's listing out the 3 areas that you want to do the RA on. Then who has direct responsibility for health and safety? Could be anybody. Just make it real to your company. If it's a CEO, if it's the HSE, if it's a supervisor, if it's the owner, just say that, put a person name and say they have direct responsibility for health and safety. Any questions on this first piece? So this piece is done. There's lots of this I told you on YouTube. I have lots of videos on this on YouTube already. Should you not make your notes and you want to see one tonight, tomorrow, you can just go on YouTube, just put in Shadrach Safety Part 1 video. Lots of it there over the years anyway, right? The freeness continue then on the YouTube channel for now, but I told you all that we are going to monetize that channel sooner or later, right? For now, we are trying to boost the subscription in it, right? If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I think we're 25% short of 1,000 members anyway, right? It's not entertainment, so it's educational. It's not, that sort of channel anyway, right? At least not for now anyway, right? For now, it's just a video feed channel anyway. All right, no questions on part one. If no questions, we are going to the second piece of part one. I think we could put our faces back on the side, and I think I could clear that writing I have there as well. So when do you submit? You submit as soon as you are finished. Don't wait. You finish part one, submit it. You finish part two, submit it. You finish part three, which we wouldn't finish till tomorrow, submit it, right? You finish part four, submit it. Don't wait, right? Because we are here to help you, but we're here to help you for a time. What does that mean? Well, the time will come when we have to submit it to NEBOSH, so that we can help you more after that, right? So when you do it, submit it. Also, please take the submission with a grain of salt. What does that mean too? It means that there's always going to be feedback. There's always going to be room for improvement, right? So when you submit your project, yes, you may have spent the whole night on it, but still expect to get some feedback and some corrections, because remember, we are really not the markers, but we want to make sure like we do our best that when it head up to the UK, like they don't see a fault in it now, right? So I have in fact, no, I wouldn't say that, but like I could look at a project now and then look at it tomorrow and still find something different tomorrow, because probably because of the time I look at it, it's late in the evening, in the morning, I may look at it with a fresh pair of eyes again. But normally I try to do a thorough job with it. And there's a lot of feedback once you send it. Now, if you follow the guidance, as I was saying at the top of the hour, if you follow the guidance, really, there might not be anything to correct, right? But if you don't follow it, well, the obvious thing is that there's a lot of things to correct anyway. All right. So this piece is still part one. This piece is called the methodology. Now, how we know that? If we go back to the guidance itself, this document, this is called the guidance. Once you finish number 6, which was any other relevant information, you can scroll down here and they actually give the same example here that the sample has. Yeah, I'll say that again. The same sample we're reading from, they just put it back here for you. NGG Limited is a medium-sized garage with offices, right? Anyway, the next piece we are on, they say you will then need to outline how you carried out the risk assessment. You see here methodology used. You would need to include the sources of information you consulted, who you spoke to, and how you identify the hazards, what is already being done, and any additional control actions that may be required. So let's go back to the sample and you'll see that. You'll see an outline how the risk assessment was carried out. This should include the sources of information consulted, same thing, right? Who you spoke to and how you identify the hazards, what is already being done, and any additional control actions that may be required. So you see a 4-paragraph approach. You can do yours just like that. I can break it down for you all if you want. Let me just break it down for you all and you'll understand it, right? So the first thing you're going to see here is research information. I just put in the letter R. In fact, I may write it out based on the fact that you all may be writing it out too, right? So that is RESEARCH. The first piece is a bit of research. A bit of research is about 3-4 lines. The next thing you want to do is that you want to say that you do a bit of an inspection or a walkthrough, right? As part of the methodology. So part of the methodology is doing like what we call a brief literature review. Then you do like a physical, you say that you visit the company. And the last thing here, you say that if there's any gaps, if there are any gaps that you got when you did your walkthrough, that you are going to refer back to the research information. So I'll just draw an arrow like this. I don't know if you all could see, right? If there's any gaps, you are going to refer back to the research information to suggest additional controls, in the word here. That's the basis of all gap analysis. You do a research, right? So like you do some research and you see how it should be done. So if you're making something home, you're making a cake, you're making a tiramisu cake, right? So you research how to do it, you watch some videos, and then you watch your recipe and you watch what you're doing, and you realize you're not doing the right thing. But then you go back then to the videos to see what is to be done, right? If you're making some sort of craft at home, you check out some videos or whatever you're doing, right? You see how to do it, kind of do it yourself. If it's some kind of, thing around your home, how to do it. Then you check what you are doing and you say, wait, now I'm doing something wrong. So then you refer back to the videos to see how to do it again. So that's the same approach, right? So the first thing, let's have a read of it. I started by looking up references to good practices relating to our organization. The HSC website had lots of resources. For example, Health and Safety in Motor Vehicle Repair and Associated Industries, HSG 261. You give the URL was a good source of information. Now, again, you don't have to do that same thing. Listen to one I am going to make up on the spot here. I'm making up one on the spot. You can play the video back and you can get it. But don't take it because, it's just an example for you can do it for yourself there, right? So you can say, I conducted research for this project on my organization from various internet sources. Comma. I looked at Google, comma, journals and the HSC website. Full stop. Right? You can say like these sources of information or the online sources of information provided good insight into my organization and the hazards that may be present. A couple of notable sites include, and you can just give about 2 URL. It don't have to be one. I could give one. You could give more than one. Folks, you understand what I just did there? I just said that same thing, but I said it in my own words. I'll say it again, but I wouldn't say it the same way. I would say like, in compiling this research, I visited various internet and online sources. These included Google, medical journals, of course, the OSHA website, the HSE website, as well as the IOSH website. These sites had various articles that I found very helpful, and they allowed me to understand the hazards that may be present in my company. A few of these include, and you can give 1 or 2 URLs. I just did it again. Said the same thing in another way. So how hard is that? The mistake again students make is they say, I started looking up good references. And again, that's plagiarism. The thing is you're doing an internet research, right? So why not just say that? Why not just say, I looked at numerous online sources of information, such as Google, comma, the NEBOSH website, comma, the HSE website, comma, and medical journals. Why do you have to keep saying the same thing the sample have? Folks, you all understand it? It's too easy, but students is be kind of too lazy. And they all want to take it from here, right? But it's easier than that. Look, I did it 3 times for you. So please, hopefully somebody wrote it down. All right. Next thing, what you're supposed to be doing, you're supposed to be saying you're taking an inspection or you're doing an inspection. So I'll read this one for you and I'll change it up into my own words, right? So after looking at sources of information, I then went around the workshop and talked to the people who were doing the job. They gave me information that was not obvious from just a visual inspection. For example, a lot of the workers did not know that there were dust masks available or the reasons why they should be worn. I'll read it one more time. After looking at sources of information, I then went around the workshop and talked to the people who were doing the job. They gave me information that was not obvious from just a visual inspection. For example, a lot of the workers did not know that there were dust masks available or the reasons why they should be worn. So I can say, for me then, like having completed my internet research, I visited Bakewell, in Georgetown, Guyana. I spoke to the head supervisor. I spoke to the chef as well as to the 2 cashiers that were present at the counter. They expressed to me their concerns, such as short staff, as well as maybe a lack of resources where goods and supplies may be required. They also mentioned that workers work very long hours and stand on their feet without proper seating facilities. Something as simple as that. That's something I actually observed when I was in Bakewell. Actually, one cashier was there alone, right? Anyway, and the same person had to go and prepare, the curries and the breads and whatever have you, and come back and cash, right? Anyway, you say it in your own words, so folks, did you get the idea of that? But not to be honest, what I did, I actually mentioned person's position. I said I spoke to the cashiers, I spoke to the head supervisor. So that's what you see here. Watch it here. Who you spoke to? Who you spoke to? You could actually call them by name. I spoke to Miss Jane, the head supervisor. I spoke to the two cashiers and the chef. Well, which was the same cashier, right? But you don't have to say that. I mean, you could say who you talk to, right? You see, when you say you talk to the people, that's too vague. NEBOSH is asking to say who you spoke to. So if this is a company, you say, having completed my online research or my online literature review, I visited, your company, Banks, or I visited Exxon, or I visited Gisby, or I visited Schlumberger. I spoke to Mr. James, the HSE manager. I spoke to the supervisor and two workers, John and Jimmy, who was actually doing the work. The agency manager expressed that the safety culture in the company is not perfect and workers sometimes do not wear PPE. Something simple as that. Right, folks? This cannot be hard to do. Look how much times I'm telling you how to do it here without even looking at this, right? Let's move on here, right? I also checked the accident book to see what types of incidents had occurred over the last 12 months and whether any of these incidents were reoccurring. I also checked the reasons of sick absence again to see if there were any reoccurring themes for ill health. So could I ask, what documents could you check if you visit a company to see or to hear if anybody was sick or ill or an accident had happened? What documents could you look at? Anyone? What documents could you look at to say that there was an accident or there was an illness or there was some sort of, injury per se? What documents could you look at?
And there are a few. There are the if there's the incident log?
Very good. Take it on, class. But I'm not saying to take, but you could additionally, like, you don't have to say accident book, right? A lot of companies, they have something called a digital board, like a note board, a whiteboard, and they display the accidents on it. Some companies have a digital board, I would say, that they display how much days away from work they have on it, right? You can just say that. You can just say, on my walkthrough, I noticed that the accident statistics was displayed on the notice board or on the digital board, right? I was able to see that they have had 4 accidents in the last quarter. You're just seeing what it is like, right? I spoke to the manager, Mr. Frank, with the HSE manager. We spoke to the head chef, about if there were any injuries. And you can say the person said that there were 2 burn injuries in the kitchen, or, the HSE manager said that there were 2 first aid cases that didn't make it to the whiteboard, but the person was given first aid, right? You know what I'm missing, Guyana? I mean, a lot of things, right? But I miss the diamond water. Like we don't have that in Trinidad. That, like, if you'll see, I have some pictures out that put on my TikTok. You'll always see diamond water. Like for you all, that's a simple thing, but like we don't have that in Trinidad. That diamond water, we don't have that, right? Like the first thing when I reach in Guyana, had a Teta restaurant, diamond water on rocks with a lemon or a lime. I already missed that. Yeah, all right. We don't have that, like I said, in Trinidad. We just have normal bottled water anyway, right? And we have searched for it. I've searched for it. I've not seen it in any stores here. Maybe Massey could bring it in Trinidad. Who knows, right? Massey from Guyana could trade it in Trinidad, right? Actually, Banks beer is a difficult beer to get in Trinidad. I saw it once, but it's in a far part of the island to get to there. There's one supermarket that have it anyway. All right, yeah, so very good. So you all got the idea then. You could use the accident statistics, talk about first aid cases, talk about the digital board. You can say that, like those of us who work in the company, you can say, well, having or being an employee of the company, I also can get access to the company accident book. You can write it over in your own words then. And in that sense, it's not plagiarism, right? Tell me if you're okay with that. If you don't want to say inspection, you can say I did a walkthrough. I did a walkthrough inspection during my walkthrough, during my site visit. Those are the words you can say. Again, people get caught because they take this whole three lines here. They say, I also check the accident book to see what types of accidents had occurred, but you don't need to say that. You can just say it back in your own words there. You can say, I spoke to the HSE manager and inquired if there have been any accidents for the last year. He told me that there were 4 accidents or reportable accidents within the January to August period. They say it in your own words, right? I can't understand how people does just not change it, right? Or not do it for themselves then, right? All right, last piece, we have any additional control actions that may be required. So remember this piece, you're saying how you're going to address the additional controls by looking back at your research. So you can just say that. You can just say, having completed my walkthrough, I will assess the information I got against the research information to suggest any further controls. Some of the research information can include, and it could probably give back another document here with the URL again. That's what is happening here. When assessing the further control measures, I also refer to some of the agency approved code of practices or guidance documents, and they could have been more than one. It could have had from Google, it could have had from the ILO website, the IOSH website, NEBOSH, some medical journal, something BP put out, something Exxon put out. It could have been any source of information, right? So for example, when looking at control measures for dust in the workplace, I refer to Dust in the Workplace, General Principles of Prevention Guidance Document EH44, 40 edition, and they give the URL. Of course, the HSE website is a good site, but also you have OSHA, you have general Google and stuff could give you information as well, right? If you're up and still taking notes, I just want to point out one thing here. I've already pointed out twice, but just to point it out again, like if you realize what I underlined in this one, I underlined the word additional. Did you all see that? And when I read this, I read it as when assessing the additional control measures. That's already just now. And there's a reason for that. The reason is that the examiners are asking for that. Like right here, you see the standard wasn't control measures. The standard is additional control measures when suggesting additional control measures. Like I said, that's like you making a cake. After you watch the video, you realize, okay, like you forget to put something. So you had to put something additional there, right? So when assessing additional control measures, I referred back to the video on making the cake. So that's what's happening here, right? So it's not just the control measures, but it's the additional control measures. And the examiners are coming down on you for this word here. Because it is what you are doing is additional controls. Right? When assessing the additional controls, I referred to some of the sources of information that I researched from the internet. These include, and I could give 1 or 2 sites and put the URL there as well. If you all do that, folks, I will have a very easy life. You have a very easy life anyway. But when I say that, like, it wouldn't be no stress on you to go and fix it. I would just read it and say, oh, this person followed the guidance. I said, oh, this class actually listened to me. As opposed to having to type back now, please follow the guidance, refer to the video, refer to the sample, right? So let's hope it's not like that. And it's so easy. It is really ridiculously easy to do. Once you understand that, you're free to put your own words and you're free to say it back in your own thing. And look how much I did. I did 3 and stuff for you all today, additional things anyway, right? Looking at the time, 7:15, but I want to start one column in the table. So if we can just go to that table now. We'll pick it up tomorrow again right there. So that's the end of part 1, by the way. Let me clear the screen. Yeah, part one is actually finished there, right? So we can go to part two, right? By chance, is today a holiday in Guyana? No, it's not a holiday, eh? No. Okay, just Axel.
Yeah, no
All right.
holidays still, I think.
Yeah, no holidays. I know today is a sort of religious day anyway, but I think in India and stuff, right? Okay, so here we have the organizational name. You put back the organizational name, Banks, Gisby, whatever you made up, right? SB, CL, whatever you made it, just put back the name there, right? The date of the assessment, any date will do, as long as there's no, I mean, like it can't be retro then, it can't be 2023 or 2022 anymore. It has to be 2024, but any date from now could do till you hand up. You'll go faster than the rest of classes. October is the exam, right? So any day between now and September is fine, including October. The start of October is also fine still, right? So if you want a project, you want to say September 25th, 2024, that's okay, right? You want to put this week date on it, that's okay, but you know, any date will do once is this year, right? So date of the assessment, 25th September 2024, 19th of August 2024, any date. Well, today's almost done, but you know, whatever date you put it at, that's fine. The scope of the RA is the same areas that you choose. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm going back up here, right? So the area chosen, the risk assessment will cover the garage and spray boot activities. So that's what we have to see here, garage and spray boot activities. So if you said the area will include the Office of Shadrach Safety Institute, the 4 classrooms, and the cafe, that's what you have to put there. You can't add or you can't minus from it. If we say the risk assessment is on the fabrication shop, the office, and the loading area, that's what you have to put there. The scope is the same as the areas chosen. Please write that down. The scope is not really the scope. The scope is the areas that you choose in part one, right? So if you said loading and unloading area for Bakewell, the kitchen and the dining area, that's the same thing you have to put back there. You can't put nothing more, you can't put nothing less. If you put anything more, you have to go and change it up in part one. And if you put anything less, they have to probably change it. And or you do the wrong thing. If you put something less than part one there, then that's not the scope. It must be the same, right? All right, so just an overview because we'll just do one of the columns here. Just an overview. The project table, we saw this on Tuesday night too, has 6 columns to fill out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 5 and 6 is very easy. 3 is also very easy. The work is really in 1, 2, and 4, right? So let's start 1. We'll kind of recap this tomorrow anyway, again, right? So in 1 though, in 1, what they ask you for is 2 things. They ask you for the hazard category and the hazard. Hazard category and the hazard. So there are 2 things going in the first column, right? So the good news is, I told you before, NEBOSH give you a guidance. Look at here. This is the same document with the forklift on it. Let's go up and we'll see it. Right? And in this document that is actually entitled Guidance for Learners, they actually have a list of hazards to choose from. We already covered this last week, Tuesday, in that you're not free to use your own hazards. They even have it here. For the avoidance of doubt, hazard categories for this assessment are the topic headings of element 5 to 11 of the NG syllabus as shown in table 1 below. So they give you the hazards here. So for those of us who remember this from last week, if the hazard is here, then you could use it. We could use fire, we could use noise, we could use vibration, we could use mental ill health, we could use load handling equipment, we could use hazardous substance, chemical or biological. We could use working at height. We could use confined space. I show across 10 already. You really only need 10 and you could just pick them from here. Just think about your company. So let me think of one. If we are thinking about Bakewell again, I could probably go with fire. That's a good one. It's a bakery. right? I could probably go with mental ill health, to be honest with you. I could probably go with violence at work. Irate customers who waited in line for a long time for their bread. We can probably go with manual handling for the kitchen staff. We can probably go with hazardous substance because it have oil and whatever have you. We might not get any confined spaces. We might not get any movement of people and vehicles if we chose those areas then, right? But if we choose the loading and offloading area, which is on Albert Street, I think, you may get movement of people and vehicles, right? But we might not get, but I mean, based on where you choose, and that's how you know what hazards. Like if you choose a machine shop, you probably get more or less of some hazards and, less of some, more of the others based on where you choose anyway, right? But the thing is, you're choosing from here. For those of us who not getting that, your hazards must come from here. If it's not here, you will fail the exam. You can't add anything here. You cannot say crushing. You cannot say projectiles. You cannot say flammable chemicals. It's not here. If it's not here, you cannot use it. Right? So we're going back in. So can we use hazardous substance? Yes. However, we needed to say if this was chemical or biological. Now, because I say they have dust, I'm going to put hazardous substance here, chemical. Right? So the proper category is hazardous substance. The word chemical is actually missing from this, right? I just put chem. So when you choose your hazard category, well, if that was the hazard category, well, then what's the hazard? The hazard is like your example. The hazard is like your example of hazardous substances in your company, right? So if I go back to Bakewell, I could still say hazardous substance chemical, and I would still say dust, but it wouldn't be processed dust, it would be flour dust. Think you understand that? I would say hazardous substance chemical, but I would say like, there's a high amount of flour dust present in the kitchen area from, mixing flours and other ingredients, baking powder, etc. Think you understand that, folks? If somebody had used a construction yard, they could have still said dust. Would have been dust, some gravel though. They could have still said hazardous substance, chemical, but it may have been dust from the construction industry or dust from the numerous amount of sand that Guyana has in it, right? What about this one, right? If somebody had used a warehouse, listen to this one, right? I'm still sticking with hazardous substance. Somebody used a warehouse, but there's evidence of rat drop-ins. There's rat traps, right? So I would say hazardous substance, but what would the subcategory be? Let me go back and show you, in case you forget. If it have rat traps and rat drop-ins, what would it be? I'm sticking, right, there'd be hazardous substance, biological, right? And then what you put here, you put in what you saw. You say there are evidence of rat drop-ins and rat traps throughout the warehouse, which is common in most companies. Including Massey. Talking from experience. Right? Think you understand that, folks? So I'll leave it there today. So that's how it's possible for all of you to have the same hazardous category. But your example would be different based on what you are doing. Let's see another one. Electrical. We could all choose electrical. Electrical in the kitchen, electrical in the warehouse, electrical in the school, electrical in banks, electrical in Gisby, electrical in a party. Of course, you can't really choose a party, right? But the point is you could all choose electrical. But then you give your example of electrical. So if I was at Bakewell, I would say something like it was, like they are faulty or exposed electrical wiring to the back of the building, or you can say like there are broken sockets, right? That was observed at the front of the building or the front of the reception area, right? You can give your example of electrical. If it was a construction site, it may be something more severe. You can say like maybe workers are using a generator and may be exposed to 220 volts of electricity. But you give your example. I guess I could take a simpler one. I mean, a simpler one could be something like slip, trips, and fall, or noise. Noise is a simple one, but slip, trips, and fall. We could all, sorry, slips and trips. I said the wrong thing there. Slips and trips, right? Like you could all choose slips and trips, right? But then you'd have to give you an example of slips and trips. Again, at a company, it may have been like you can say like the entrance to the compound has loose gravel, and this may cause workers to slip and trip. Somebody was in the bakery, they can say like the carpet may have raised fibers or threads on them, and that may cause slips and trips, right? So you could all give the same categories, and that's why I say you don't need to go anywhere. You just need to get the project done by being creative, choosing your hazards from the sample. Tomorrow we'll take it up. We're gonna go across to the road though, but I don't know if anybody wanna just think about it a bit to see what hazards you can get for your company, and then you can give the sub examples. Remember the difference is the hazard category is coming from the guidance, and the hazard itself is coming from you. The hazard is like your example. Look at there, right? Your example of what you saw, in your company. Let me just get it rolling and we'll mark today's register. Right? I think we're finished. Let me stop the recording. Hopefully nobody was outside. I think I'm seeing full class today. Well, if I'm seeing full 9 persons, right? Then well, 8 and myself, then we don't really need to call the roll one by one. I'll just put everybody present. But let me get the rules still anyway.